Now, the world, of course, is horrified by the plight of the Ukrainian people at the hands of the Russian army. Some families have been moved underground in the city of Kharkiv in Ukraine's northeast to protect the kids from constant Russian shelling. Hospitals in the city are struggling under the pressures of war. Joining me now to discuss the unfolding situation is Ukraine MP Inna Sovsun. Good to talk to you, Inna. Thanks for joining us. You join us live from Kyiv. Can you tell us what it's like in the capital now, just how much Russian bombardment, Russian military moves are impacting on the city?
So actually, as of right now, I'm joining you, from Western Ukraine, because a 2-day curfew was announced in Kyiv. So I came to see my son during the curfew hours. But in terms of what is happening in Kyiv, the Russians didn't actually get any closer than they were 2 or 3 weeks ago. And actually, Ukrainian army has pushed them further from the city. And they also did regain control over several towns to the west of Kyiv, which has given us great hope. But the Russians are still continuing the fight. They are still continuing to shell the city. What you are showing right now is of course, this major explosion. The biggest one we have had from the wartime is when they blew up a huge, it's really very big mall on the outskirts of Kyiv. It was brand new, actually. It was built like a year ago, I think. And they destroyed it with a huge explosion. It was felt all over the city, everywhere, even in distant areas. Now it's all gone. But apparently they announced a 2-day curfew specifically because the Russians are trying to get those infiltrators into the city. And I think, as we were told by the mayor, that this curfew is designed specifically so that they can find those infiltrators trying to get into the city.
Can you tell us how the political system is operating? We hear a lot from Vladimir Zelensky. Obviously, he's working with the military on the defence of the country. But are parliamentary members, are you able to communicate and have a role? Do you each have a role that you're trying to fulfil?
Yes, of course. We are functioning differently compared to what it was before the war, of course, but it is still an important role for all of us. Well, first of all, we did have 3 emergency sessions of the parliament. They were very short, of course, given the situation, but we still had some legislation that needed to be passed. We also work now on preparing one more session, which will probably take place sometime next week. So there is a lot of legislative changes that need to be done, allocation of budgets to the military means relocation of money to the people who have been relocated internally, and so on and so forth. So there is actually quite a lot of legislative work that needs to be done. The way we are doing it is different right now, because previously we used to have debates inside the parliament. Now all debates are conducted before the parliamentary session itself, so that we don't stay in the parliament very long, and the parliamentary sessions are only taking the legislation which everybody has agreed upon previously. But other roles which are still important are like issues of coordinating humanitarian aids with MPs representing different regions. They try to support each other, and to like MPs from the Western Ukraine helping MPs in their constituencies on the Eastern Ukraine. So that has taken place as well. So members of parliament are working as hard as they can. Some of them have actually rejoined the military, so that is also there. But of course, the parliament is not the same as it was, but our main function of representing the people is still on.
Now, there have been some attempts at negotiations. There's been no progress. Russia has still been relentless. There's talk of a possibility of a summit-level meeting between President Zelensky and President Putin. What do you believe that Zelensky could say to Putin that would stop the Russians?
I have to be honest, I don't really have much trust in diplomatic solution of the war in this case. Because in order to have a diplomatic solution, you need to have someone to talk to who is rational, who is accepting the reality, and who is willing to make a deal. Putin is so much driven by his hatred towards Ukrainians, towards democracy, towards respect for human rights, anything that we represent to him, that it's actually impossible to imagine a situation where he would, come to a deal, unless the Russian soldiers die in even bigger numbers than they are right now, and there is some internal protest to that inside Russia. And of course, the sanctions. We are asking for tougher sanctions because sanctions make people around Vladimir Putin extremely unhappy, particularly like the personal sanctions, where the children of oligarchs and political elite are not allowed to leave Russia, they are not allowed to get visas. Those are extremely painful, and those are the ones that are actually working, creating some tensions inside the team. So that can actually potentially lead to the diplomatic solution. But I truly do not, unfortunately, believe we are there yet.
Inna Sovsun, thanks so much for joining us again. We wish you Godspeed.
Thank you.